Well, good morning and welcome to another episode of CREDE Play Offense. Today I'm joined by Jack Hill, who's the president of Hill Building Group, which is a CREDE company out of Texas. And Jack leads up our whole Texas team. And really happy to have you here today. So, always fun to introduce some of our other team members and for people to hear more about what we've got going on than just from me. So, Jack, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Colby. Really excited to be here. Thank you for that introduction. Excited to be joining forces with CREDE. We'll get into some really cool stuff down here in Texas. So, ready to talk about it.
So, Jack, before we get into kind of the overall company and stuff, I always find it's pretty interesting. A lot of people ask me from time to time, how does someone get into our business, or how do people describe what our business is? And I always say, my running joke is it's herding, kittens and chasing babies, but, maybe give a little bit of the story about, how you got into what we do for a living, or how you would even describe it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's really a funny and very non-traditional story. So, starting out in college, I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do. I did always have an interest in construction, with my dad having been in construction since as long as I can remember. So I got exposure to construction, to big job sites at a really early age. So I think that really kind of gave me the bug in the back of my head. Graduated from UT Arlington, go Mavericks, and was just kind of out there just trying different things. I was in HR for a little while, and then I got to a point in my career to where I just wasn't feeling as fulfilled, and I just got tired of the regular 9-to-5 grind in a cubicle. And so I ended up going to work for my family's landscape company, and it was a small commercial residential landscape company, and got exposure to my first real big construction site in downtown Fort Worth with the renovation of Sundance Square. And kind of after that experience, I was pretty hooked, and ended up working up my way through various trades, going from landscaping to masonry to site work, and then eventually got the opportunity, when I was working for a masonry company, to work on Globe Life Field with the Rangers with my dad. And after that, I was really driven and focused to realign my career, refocus my career on large-scale commercial construction. And so after that, I got on board with a sizable general contractor that was opening up an office in Dallas, and started out as a project manager there and worked my way up to the general manager of the Texas region. And learned a lot there, spent a good number of years there, and finally got the confidence and the knowledge base to kind of go out on my own, and started Hill Building Group. Started it with a couple partners. It was originally called LRC Building Group, and after about 5 months, bought my partners out and renamed it the Hill Building Group, and just kept doing mostly smaller general contracting work, both ground up and tenant finish out stuff. Just basically, I told, my running pitch to everybody was like, I'll do anything from build your building to change your light bulb. Just give me a shot. So with that mindset, I grew Hill Building Group, and just kind of kept going in that direction. Started working on the owner's rep side with my dad, and now we're here. Met Colby, and now it's really taken off to the next level, which is has always been my vision.
Yeah, maybe talk to me a little bit too. It's like I've tried to explain it, but in your mind, it's funny on the West Coast, we always say, construction management. Well, we're talking about program management or project management. on the East Coast, construction management many times means construction management or general contracting at risk. But, what do you see as the difference between a general contractor, a development manager, and an owner's rep? And how do you define those different roles?
I mean, just at a very high level, development manager, I look at them as they want stuff to paper out, and they deal with the land acquisitions and all that stuff. Where the owner's rep or construction manager, whatever you want to refer to it as, is I would say the best way I describe it to clients that are kind of unclear about it, I say just think of us as an insurance policy to the owner. The owner, a lot of times, is not an expert in construction. So, we are brought on board to be the eyes and ears of that owner, to treat their money as it is our own. And going in with that mindset, we're able to provide a lot of peace of mind to them. And then on the GC side of things, obviously, the general contractor is going to build the building itself. So they take on the risk, whereas the owner's rep, we minimize risk because we're not contracted directly with any subcontractors. So, that in a nutshell, that's really kind of how I would divvy it up.
Yeah, I kind of always say on my side, it's like you have the pyramid of hierarchy is no different than a football team. Whereas certain people have certain roles. So a general contractor might be to do one thing. You might have your tight end is running a specific route. For me, I always say an owner's rep is the cross between either a quarterback or an offensive coordinator, where we might be, we're given a lot more latitude because our role is to help coordinate all the other team members, help really add that value, as you said, minimize risk, but truly understand what the objective is, and then achieve that objective for the ownership.
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially on larger projects, it's extremely prudent to spend the extra money, because Colby, this. We always say to the owner that we're going to save you X amount of what you spend on us. Just let us look at your plans and let us kind of dig into them and dissect them, and we can use our experience and expert opinions to truly provide, not just on paper, but real value to the project, whether that means, really digging into the schedule and making it as efficient as possible, or maybe there's items that, are drawn up that could be done differently that could save, millions.
We'll get back to that in a second. You mentioned your dad a couple of times, and you always do it with a smile and pride, which I know is important to both you guys. So, for our listeners, maybe give a little homage to Jack Senior. It's I think there's only one sporting event or venue in DFW that he hasn't worked on in his career.
Yeah, the only sporting event, the only professional sporting event, or complex that he did not work on in the DFW area would be the Texas Motor Speedway. So every other standing professional stadium, ranging from the ballpark in Arlington through Cowboy Stadium, American Airlines Center, most recently Globe Life Field, he has been fortunate enough to be a part of on the owner. He was the owner's rep for those owners. He's and it's not just in Texas. He's got a reputation nationally, a well-deserved reputation as being one of the experts in his field. And I have learned a tremendous amount to him. I owe a tremendous amount of my knowledge and success to the mentorship that he's provided. He has been a great sounding board and a resource for me, and I'm extremely blessed and fortunate to have him.
Well, and that's which is so cool, and it's like, and for me too, getting to know him and being able to work with him is just fun. It's he and I have very direct personalities, so it always is like it's an hour meeting that takes 5 minutes because you cut out all the fluff.
Yeah, well, that's how he runs his jobs too.
Well, maybe talk a little bit about that, because one of the things about us getting together that, and part of our logic was what I consider asymmetrical work, which is, jobs that aren't tied to the 10-year note, or, aren't typically just straight associated with multifamily or different things, which stadiums and sporting venues come through. And I mean, you and I have talked about this, at length, but just for general folks, I mean, there you want to give some stats about how many stadiums and how much work is coming in the next 10 years and what, not just the stadium work, but then what does that mean for retail and multifamily and hotel and everything that's around it?
Oh gosh, I just recently went to the CSEF conference and got to hear some really powerful speakers talk about kind of the state of the industry. And I think one of the stats was by 2030, there are going to either be, I think 30 new stadiums, either new stadiums or renovations to existing stadiums. So there's a tremendous work in the pipeline because none of these projects are small. I would say they're all minimum hundreds of millions of dollars. And I think really another big point that I heard at the conference was that in this day and age, sports teams are no longer looking for just a stadium for their team to play in. They are looking for a multi-purpose. They have to be able to utilize the stadium more than just for games. So they're looking for creative ways to accomplish that, whether that be with partnerships through Live Nation or Ticketmaster, things like that. And they are building specifically for that. So they are paying more attention to acoustics. They're paying more attention to show power, how you're getting stages set up, et cetera, the fan experience, not just for games, but the fan experience for these concerts, they're taking a lot of that into account, to which, maybe 15, 20 years ago, that wasn't necessarily something that was going to be high on the need list. It's turned much more into a need versus a want. And along with that goes these sports districts, and we're seeing it everywhere. You don't see a stadium that's going to be built without a surrounding district anymore. And a lot of places are trying to go back and redevelop areas around the stadium to capture that goal. Because I was talking to a president of a professional sports organization, I don't know, about a month ago. And, a comment that he mentioned really stuck out to me. He said, Jack, players' salaries are just getting higher and higher and higher. And there's only so much of that burden that we can pass on to the fans in ticket prices. And there's only so much that we can do in parking. So we have to come up with other strategic ways to capture additional revenue. And the easiest way and the way that makes the most sense to a lot of these teams is to develop a mixed-use commercial atmosphere around it and create a lot of what it's referred to as kind of a village or a district around it. You see it all over the place now.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I totally agree with you. And it's, we've changed as a country where it used to be everybody had RVs, or you take your motorhome in and you spend the weekend. Now people want to stay, at hotels, or they want to travel with the teams and they want to see it. So, and they're expecting that level of experience across the country.
Yeah, I mean, and you're looking at it too, even at the collegiate level. I mean, with the game day experience, you see a lot of the bigger schools trying to enhance their tailgating experience or whatever. So it's a priority that's coming in at multiple levels. Yep.
Well, and it's I'd say Texas is the beneficiary of a lot of that desire and that funds. And that was one of the reasons we joined up, was not just on the owner's rep side, but even for CREDE's own developments, as we're focused on industrial down in Texas, both Austin and DFW. That maybe talk to me a little bit about some of the cool stuff you're seeing in Arlington. I'm giving you a little bit of a softball pitch for a groundbreaking you've got tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, Arlington, Texas is it's a special place, and it's led by a really special mayor and with the support of a really great city council. And they have put a lot of money together to champion these initiatives with their Economic Development Corporation. We were fortunate enough to be called by Trey Elverton, who's the city manager at Arlington, and he made us aware that they had just brought in a new group from, I believe they were from California, a group called eSpace, and they build satellites. And so they were looking to move their corporate headquarters, and Arlington was the winner of that. And we got tagged to be the owner's rep for the EDC to build approximately, for phase one, it's about a 500,000 square foot, high technology driven industrial complex at the Arlington Municipal Airport. So it really is. It's a really special project for the EDC because it's to date, it is their largest single investment in something like this. And they're excited about it. And like you mentioned earlier, we're breaking ground tomorrow. But, Arlington as a whole, outside of that single project, is booming. They, with the addition of, I guess really ever since Globe Life Field, and you had Texas Live get brought in, which spurred the growth in this district. And ever since then, it's just been going like gangbusters. Lowe's has invested heavily into this district. They've completed 2 hotels with the intent to bring in another, I believe, 2 or 3 more hotels in a little, whatever this is, a 4 or 5 block radius. On top of that, there's development plans all along the north side of Choctaw, where the National Medal of Honor Museum, that's another big one to mention, is that Arlington, Texas beat out competition with Denver and a couple other really large marquee cities. Arlington, Texas got selected to be home for the National Medal of Honor Museum, which is the equivalent of a presidential library. It's a national museum, and it is absolutely beautiful. It was privately funded, and I believe it came in at roughly 300 million, maybe a little bit more, 380, something like that. So that's a big testament to the city's desire and hunger to bring in these large, headlining projects.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't say congratulations on that one, because your dad and our team had something to do with that as well on building that.
Yeah.
That's
We were actually able to bring on a couple of really talented builders from that, and Jack Senior did absolutely have a hand in that, teaming up with the Irvine team. They did a fantastic job.
Yep, it truly is a testament to this country, and it's a very special place. So
yeah,
maybe talk a little bit about what you're seeing in other areas. So I mean, we know what's going on in Fort Worth and everything that Majestic's got going up there with the stockyards, and a lot of other stuff going up in McKinney and Anna and Salina. And what else are you seeing around DFW right now?
Oh man, I could talk all day about that. But Fort Worth is interesting. Fort Worth is one of the fastest growing cities in the nation, one of the fastest growing large cities in the nation. It just crested 1 million people, I think, last year. So population is booming, and where population booms, development, follows. And we are seeing an incredible amount of investment into I guess what you would call the Stockyard District down in Fort Worth, like you mentioned with Majestic. They opened up Mule Alley and the Drover, which are, those are, we were down there not too long ago, Colby, and it is really one of those places. If somebody hasn't been, it is a very, very neat district down there. It's great. And then in, North Fort Worth, there's plenty of new development going up in the Keller side of things, mostly with multifamily and commercial all along 35. We've seen a continued growth up there towards the Texas Motor Speedway. And what I say is that I think that area is kind of poised to be kind of like how the McKinney and Frisco area were 20 years ago. That is the next place to boom. It's really going like gangbusters. And then, obviously, what our appetite looks like in Melissa and Anna and Prosper and things of that nature. It's tremendous growth. I think we're almost grown into Sherman, which is pretty close to the Oklahoma border. And it's attracting not only industrial and commercial, but there's also a number of professional sports teams. One being FC Texoma, which is currently looking at different sites in that area, in the McKinney Salina area, to build an 18,000 seat open air stadium and training facility for this new team that was just awarded to the ownership group, which is a phenomenal group. And we are working with a developer called CREDE Investments on that one as well. So there's a lot of exciting stuff. I mean, we just got off a call earlier this week with a group that's looking to bring a professional women's soccer club to Arlington. And they are in the process of raising capital for that and have started to loosely form together a group in the AEC industry that is very interested. So I can see, especially after the World Cup comes, I think there's going to be a bounce in the appetite for soccer, just like there was back in the 90s when the last World Cup came to the U.S. So a lot of exciting stuff here.
Very cool. As we look around the country, it's interesting to me. I was talking to a guy in Missoula, Montana last night, and their construction costs and backlog still very high because it's more of a insular deal. You look at Austin or Phoenix. Phoenix, I'd say the peak of our calls from subcontractors was January, February of this year, when the backlog dried up and costs started bottoming out, and we're starting to see like Phoenix is already getting more work in 2026. What are you guys seeing in Dallas and Austin for construction backlog and pricing? Do you think is there room for numbers to come down? Have we bottomed out? Do you think it'll go up with inflation for the end of 25 and 26, or what are you forecasting right now?
I think that right now for the remainder of 25, I think we're going to see prices stay pretty close to where they are. I think we've kind of reached the bottom because I see 2026 becoming a much busier year. So therefore the demand for subcontractors will obviously rise. I think that especially in hot markets like DFW and Austin, where I think that the market is about to turn for the better part of it, I think that timing should be somewhere, for a project would be an ideal time would be somewhere between now and the end of this quarter to get stuff signed up and get your LOIs out. I think that you're going to see lead times. I think you're going to see subcontractor demand all rise in 2026.
Very cool. So maybe talk to us. I mean, I know it, but just for our listeners, talk to us a little bit about the team you've assembled in Texas. So and we're growing like gangbusters down there because Thomas and I both have a huge belief in you and the team, but also in the Texas market. But what type of people do we have? How big, and where do you want to be with that office in a year?
We have been really fortunate to really be able to put our industry connections and our relationships together, and they're after the merger with CREDE are able to really kind of capture our fruits of labor or whatever. We're able to really capitalize on this. We were able to bring on some really good 18 players here that have all had some really great marquee projects, ranging from like Dickey's Arena to, like you mentioned earlier, the National Medal of Honor Museum. We've got experts on the city side as well, that because we see the city work really picking up. We see a big void there to where we could help fill the gap because just like the city of Arlington, where they get these large scale projects and they just do not have the staff to man them. So we strategically went out and were able to capture some really good project managers on the city side that know the inner workings of the city and how to navigate that landscape as well. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel really, really good about our team here. I think that we are on pace I think we just hired I think we're at 16 or 17. And I think by this time next year, we could be up to that 25 to 30 person range.
Yep. I would agree with you basically on everything you guys got going and we've got going down there.
Yeah.
What is it you look for? Again, I'd say, and maybe bifurcate it a little bit. So entry level versus, if you were going to say, what's the Hill way, or what's the secret sauce that you're looking for in a person's personality to work well, not in our business and then within our company specifically?
You know, when I started Hill Building Group, I always keep this quote from my dad. I remember I would go and hang out with my dad at AT&T Stadium every Friday after work for 2 or 3 years, and we would just sit around and just kind of bat stuff around back and forth, and we sometimes we talk about construction, sometimes we just talk about life. And I remember asking him that one day, what's something how do you hire? What do you look for when you hire? He said, well, it'd be great if they have the construction experience, but really you can teach construction experience. You can teach construction to anybody. What I look for is the attitude, the good mentality, that ownership mentality thought. And that really stuck with me, because he's right. I didn't graduate with a degree in construction, but here I am. I picked it up as I went along, but I had the right mentality, the right attitude. So when we're hiring, of course, we're looking for qualified candidates, but the intangible thing is just the good attitude that you want. You want that attitude that somebody that's excited and passionate about construction, about building, about their projects. And you want that good, honest person, somebody that you can trust. And I think that is something that you cannot put a dollar amount on.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree, because it's not just about having, our back as a team, but it's about having our clients' backs. And, our job is really to support and protect them all stop. But I would add to it, I'm always looking for that person that's inquisitive, or the person that says, I'm bored at my current job because somebody tried to pigeonhole me. It's like, I want that person who never wants to stop learning, and, achieving the impossible is something that drives them every morning.
Absolutely.
Well, very cool. What else are you seeing down there right now? Multifamily is you starting to see it turn and come back with a lot of soft starts, or where do you see that market going?
Yeah, we are finally starting to see the multifamily, I think, start to turn the corner. We've had a couple meetings with investors and developers that have shown some pretty big interest in multifamily. I just got done spending a lot of time with the guys over at Moss Construction, and they're going gangbusters on some multifamily. And it's not just multifamily associated with stadiums; it's standalone multifamilies, and it's you see it going on all the way from north of Melissa all the way down to Mansfield. So I do see that starting to turn the corner. It'll be interesting to see how that trend carries in 2026. But I have a feeling it's going to continue. I feel like it's a good sign that we're starting to pick up right now.
As a parting thought, if you look at it and you said, okay, we've got other competitors out there, DF projects coming, BMA. What sets, in your mind, Hill Building and Group and CREDE apart from our competitors? What is it that we're looking to promise or over deliver on from your perspective?
Well, first off, on larger scale projects, like on a stadium or something, we know how to right size a project. We don't bloat a project. We know what it takes to get $1 billion arena done or $1 billion stadium done. And we are not going to load it up with unnecessary fluff just to do it. Like we mentioned earlier, we want to treat the owner's money like it's our own. So if I've got $1 billion in my pocket and I'm building a stadium, I'm going to staff this project how I would staff it. And I think that's something that has been lost a lot in the owner's rep industry. And it's kind of a shame, because it really takes advantage of these big projects with these big pocketbooks, and it shouldn't matter about that. You need to staff the project with what it's actually going to take, not how much you can possibly make on it. And I think that's something that really sets us apart and is a really big. It's a founding principle of it. We just right size the project, and we give the best value. I think we put on rock stars on the project, so we'll put on a guy that's got 6 stadiums under his belt instead of 3 guys that have a stadium,
Yep. Well, it's that's part of why you and I got together, buddy. It's a lot of integrity and a lot of protection across the board. So
Yeah.
I'm truly honored to be able to work with you and the rest of our team in Texas, and always love going down. And I wish I could spend more time with you guys down there, because it's,
Come on down anytime. We're here.
it. All right. Well, thank you for your time today. I hope that's informative to talk a little bit about how CREDE is expanding, and to introduce you to Jack Hill, the president of Hill Building Group, a CREDE company, and get to know our folks in Arlington. Anything you need in Austin or DFW or Houston, we can cover you. And Jack oversees the central United States for us. So feel free to reach out to him. And Jack, thank you for all your insight as usual.
Yep. Thanks, guys.